Look, I think the way he played was so unique. I mean, I remember the very first time I saw Rafa. He was playing at the US Open and he was like this young 15-year-old that everyone was talking about. And the way he played, the way he had this incredible presence on the court. He was probably one of the fittest, strongest players on the tour. The fact that he was a lefty and he hit with so much spin, I thought created the most problems for many players. But the way he carried himself around the courts, he was always a champion. He always had so much empathy for other players when they lost. But yeah, he is one of the guys that really will leave a huge impact, particularly for Spanish tennis. Alcaraz now following in his footsteps, taking a lot of things out of the great things that Rafa did, but his character certainly set him apart.
He's the king of clay, of course, an absolute legend at places like Roland Garros. But how hard is it for a player who dominates so much on that surface to adjust to the others?
Yeah, look, he was. I mean, of course, he won at Roland Garros 14 times, and I don't think anyone will ever come close to that. To think he had such a long career without getting injured, but certainly his game style did really suit clay. He slid very well. He could run all day. You'd have to knock him down with a tractor, really, on clay. He was so good. He adjusted well. Of course, he won 4 times at the US Open, 2 times at the Australian Open, 2 times at Wimbledon. So he could play on any surface. And the fact that he just was different. And he hit so powerfully and he hit so heavy. And he would always cause problems with someone like Roger Federer. He would go heavy into his backhand. But Novak, he didn't quite have Novak's number. Novak, I think they played like 60 times, and I think it was 31, maybe 29. But amazing.
Yeah. And what about that rivalry, the Djokovic-Federer rivalry?
Yep.
How much do you think that spurred him and all of them on?
Oh, absolutely. They pushed each other so incredibly well. I mean, Roger and Rafa had a really great, very good personal bond, and I think they were very good friends. And I think we've seen that after Roger finished. I mean, they've done charity events together in Africa. I think they walked up a mountain recently to raise money. They're both unbelievable characters of the game, great values. His legacy will live on for many, many years. But yes, is there a hole in the game without these three? We'll see. I mean, we've got to see the Sinners and the Alcarazes and players like that just start to, create that impact back on the APT Tour.
You mentioned those injuries. How big a toll did they have on his career, particularly in the last few years or so? Yeah,
the last 2 years has just been so difficult, I think, for Rafa. He's struggled. He's tried absolutely everything that he could to be on the court. Mentally, he was 1,000%. Physically, he was only at 20%. And I think that's the frustrating thing for a guy that relied so much on his body. The way he hit the ball, the way he trained, his intensity was beyond. I mean, if you went and watched him practice, you'd think that he's burning so much energy as opposed to someone else on the court. And that's what made him so great, his intensity, but his work ethic and all the other values he brought to tennis. We will sadly miss this man. I'll miss him for sure. When I leave here, I'll just go get my tissues. But he's one of those guys. I remember he lost a match at the Australian Open. He lost to another Spanish guy because he was injured. He shouldn't have played the match. I saw him walking and it was about midnight and he'd lost and he was walking down the hallway and I said, "Do you need a hug?" And he said, "Yes." So I got my hug from Rafa.
That's an achievement. His farewell. I guess some players ideally would try for a Grand Slam, but he's going to say goodbye at the Davis Cup representing Spain. Yeah,
which is amazing, isn't it? That's going to be held in Malaga, so in Spain, and it's going to be phenomenal. I mean, people will be travelling all around the world to watch that final match, and it's kind of fitting, isn't it, that he's doing it for his country because he's had so much love from them and he's done, so many things. I think he's won 4 Olympic Games, maybe 4. He's going for his 5th Davis Cup title. So what a way to go out. A little bit of pressure on Alcaraz, though, to win those singles matches.
I think so, and a few tears on court and off, I reckon, too.
It's going to be so emotional for all the team. I mean, that's been one thing. If you see that, he's had his team around him his whole career, his family, Uncle Tony. What a journey he's been on.